Chair, we have Councillor O'Boyle, Gary Taylor, and Councillor King. And we have Councillor Burden here for.
Quorum.
Yes, Chair.
Quorum. Thank you. Can I just say to anyone who's on the screen, if you wish to speak, then please raise your hand, and we'll obviously take any comments that you have. For the benefit of people on the screen, I don't know everybody, but we'll just go around the room here. I'm Councillor Bob Slay, I'm Deputy Mayor, and I chair this investment board.
Wendy Slater, Governance Services.
Carl Pearson, WMCA Finance Team.
George Sims, Martin Bleed, Energy Capital, WMCA.
James Gordon, Energy Project Officer, Energy Capital, WMCA.
Steve Clark, Cabinet Member for Finance, Legal and HR.
Councillor Karen Briggs, or Deputy Leader Solihull.
Matt Dormer, Leader at Redditch Borough Council.
Martin Yardley, West Midlands Combined Authority.
Anna James, West Midlands Combined Authority.
John Godfrey, West Midlands Combined Authority.
Mark Shelp,
West Midlands Combined Authority.
George Coucher, portfolio holder, Stratford on Avon District Council.
Good morning, David Buckland, Chief Executive at Stratford Avon District Council. Shane Birch, Deputy Chief Executive at Stratford Avon District Council.
Richard Lawrence, Director, Regeneration City Wolverhampton Council.
Chris Burden, Councillor, Cabinet Member, City of Wolverhampton Council.
Gerald Galloway, West Midlands Development Capital.
Kieran Tenner, West Midlands Development Capital.
Ed Bradburn, West Midlands Development Capital.
Nick Oakley, Head of Property, West Midlands Development Capital.
Sue Summers, West Midlands Development Capital.
Councillor Peter Hughes, Stonewall MVC, Cabinet Member for Regeneration in the Combined Authority.
Ian Martin, Investment Director, WMCA.
Thank you. We've been notified of substitutes. Declaration of interest if any members are reminded of the need to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest they have in an item being discussed during the course of the meeting. In addition, the receipt of any gift or hospitality should be declared where the value of it was thought to have exceeded £25 gifts or £40 hospitality. Any declaration of interest in the room? One from me. Item 14 on the agenda, G & Company. I used to work with Rob Listener and John Pride to the beneficiary of the loan, should we make it. I've taken advice from the Director of Governance and Governance within the Combined Authority. I've not had any contact with them since 2017, and therefore I have no interest, which is actually in any way conflicting. So hopefully we'll put that in the record. Thank you. The minutes of the previous meeting on the 12th of February are before you with item 4 on the agenda, pages 1 to 8. I'm taking those as a true record. Does anyone wish to make any amendments to those minutes? On indicated, we will therefore take those as a true record accordingly. We now move to the items for noting, investment programme update and dashboard. We go to page 9 to 28 in your papers, and I'll pass over to Ian Martin to give us an update on the investment programme.
Thank you, Jane. So with regard to the investment programme, the funding commitment as at the end of February, it's back to its previous £854.2 million. The limit is £871 million. It's fully utilised by the earmarked contributions as approved by the WMCA board. The last reporting available for expenditure was end of the calendar year. It costs our drawings, if you prefer, to 31st December was £590.3 million. And since the last board meeting, WMCA officers have exercised their delegated powers to approve one business case. That was a strategic outline case for the UKC Hub and Connectivity Programme. That funds work connected with the M42 Bridge project, which is enhancing the Arden Cross infrastructure around the HS2 Solihull station. Sum approved there was £510,000. Just for noting, really, we have routine internal audit and progress covering investment programme monitoring. That's the report to ARAC. We'll bring any findings that are relevant back to this board. And also to note that whilst DLUC required an interim gateway review, they have paused that at the moment. So we're really looking at complying with the 10-year gateway review. For medical, we have 5-yearly gateway reviews as part of the devolution settlement.
We'll go to the dashboard. Sorry, before we go to the dashboard, any questions with regards to the report which has been given? Any indications? No, we'll just take the dashboard then, and I think Councillor Grinson wants to update on a few items. So, dashboard.
Yes, thanks, Chair. We have 84 projects recorded as approved funding. Within those, there's various sub-projects. Business cases are being updated on those. We have 28 projects now that have reached completion, and evaluation of those projects has commenced. Of the 84, we have 16 as red status at the moment. They're all on completion dates where change requests are in progress, working with the various sponsors concerned. Happy to answer any questions in detail.
Thank you. Councillor Grinson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to reassure board. The last meeting we were at, I noticed obviously some of the dates were getting tight or were not quite, I could see that they were not quite accurate. So I've been back to Solihull Council officers to ensure that the dashboard has been updated so that you'll see, I think all of our items now have got some more realistic dates and sort of narratives beside it. So you'll see either outline business case, full business cases coming forward later in the year, but just to say, reassure board that that is all being progressed.
Thank you. That's really helpful for the board. Okay. Now move to item 6, 7 and 8, which are the public elements of the dashboard: Commercial Investment Fund, Brownfield Land and Property Development Fund, and the Residential Investment Fund. I'm going to pass to Nick Oakley. This is the public elements, not the private elements. So I'll take from Nick. Thank you, Nick.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So these are the public information dashboards for the WMDC managed funds. As usual, I provide a full update on the private session. However, I am happy to take any questions if there are.
Any questions on the public elements of those dashboards? Not indicated on the screen, will therefore note accordingly. Thank you. We now take a further public item, Local Net Zero Accelerator Programme. George, I have your name against this. Is that correct? You want to give us an introduction then, please?
Yeah, so the reason for bringing this to investment board is to approve the business case that's been prepared to accept and spend the funding that we've been allocated at the end of last year by the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero for the local Net Zero Accelerator Programme. The purpose of the programme really is to address a major issue that we have in reaching our 2041 target for net zero, which is that there's a gap between, there's a funding gap. At the same time as that, we have lots of investors that we've spoken to that are potentially willing to invest in projects and have shown an inclination that if the business case was there, the money would be there. So finding money is not necessarily an issue. And we have lots of projects through our Net Zero Enablers programme and others that are ready to go if we could find funding for them, if we could develop them. So that's the issue. We investors say, show us the information, show these projects are ready and we'll invest. Projects are applying that funding, but what's needed in the middle is we need a means of consistently engaging people and communities and developing projects. We need to find a way of gathering and storing the data that provides the evidence to investors that their money will be well spent and they'll get the outcomes that they desire. And we need a funding structure in order to channel funding from investors to the projects that we have. Those are the sort of broad areas that we're looking to develop through this funding, which can be seen, if you like, as gap funding, crucial step to developing a much greater market for not just retrofit, but investing in our neighbourhoods to achieve our net zero targets. How we'll deliver it, 4 main work streams. One is net zero neighbourhoods. So it's taking the net zero neighbourhoods programme that we already have up and running, with our first demonstrator underway already in Brockmore and Dudley, with 1.6 million of the combined authorities own funding through an investment programme. Through this, we'll be looking to develop out a further 6 projects, so 1 in each of Birmingham, Coventry, Sandwell, Solihull, Walsall and Wolverhampton. And we'll be taking those from the point where they are now, where there's a detailed plan, to developing a much greater investment case and being sure that we've assessed all of the homes in those areas, that we've engaged the community, that we understand what the wider needs are beyond home retrofit as well. That's the first work stream. It's developing those to the point where they're investment ready and hopefully ready for investment through devolved funding that will be coming on stream through the single settlement process. At the same time, we'll be talking to investors and demonstrating the business case to them, continuing engagement with a range of investors. So these will be institutional investors like pension funds, outcome buyers. And when we say outcome buyers, we mean those that have a non-financial outcome in mind. So whether that's carbon credits or healthcare outcomes or energy infrastructure outcomes, those are the people that we'll be speaking to. And then the other 2 work streams are to build out that data governance and funding infrastructure that I mentioned before. Locations, Brockmore and Dudley is already underway. The other locations, Graiseley in Wolverhampton, Dudley Fields in Walsall, Castle Vale in Birmingham, Chelmsley Wood in Solihull, Park Lane in Sandwell. And the funding itself is split across those work streams that I talked about. Some of the funding will go directly to local authorities for opposite posts to deliver the projects, but also to undertake things like the engagement and assessments that I spoke about. There's still a discussion to be had over exactly who procures what, whether it's the combined authority that procures some element of that on behalf of the local authorities, or local authorities want to do that themselves. That will be decided after a soft market testing process that we're hoping to launch today, subject to approval. But there's a good chunk of the budget that's allocated to local authorities. The rest needs to be allocated to those other work streams that I've mentioned. And out of the 6.2 million in total, I expect that maybe about half of that will go towards the net zero neighbourhoods development, business case development, and other feasibility for things like heat networks and solar PV. So I'm happy to take any questions, but I'll stop there.
Thank you. Any questions for George on the report? The recommendations are listed page 41. Anyone indicate anyone need to go on the screen? Does anyone want to intervene? No, no indications at all. No. Karen?
I'll just happily support this. Recommend it goes forward. Yeah.
Any consensus that we would support?
Yes.
Seems to be lots of nods around the room. So it's subject to business case approval by DESNZ. Agree to receive a minimum £6.2 million revenue grant funding from the Department of Energy, Security and Net Zero to deliver the local Net Zero Accelerator programme. Agree to the WMCA enter into contracts and to agree onward award funding in order to deliver the local Net Zero Accelerator programme. Agree to delegate responsibility for receiving and allocating additional funding for the local Net Zero Accelerator programme up to £20 million to the Executive Director of SENZ in consultation with our Section 151 officer. Are we all content that that is the decision? Great, thank you. I now have to exclude the press and the public, and I pass the following resolution that according to Section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following items of business, as they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information related to business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Mr. Clark switched it off.